I've never seen the man smile, honestly. Once in an interview. I lied, he smiled once.
They still have one more game to go, Rusty. It is a best-of-3 series against Suning, who did not look all that bad in game number 2.
Not at all. I mean, Suning Gaming started to come back, and if you base it off the first game, you look towards the second game, you look, all right, here we go. Suning Gaming, they look like the outright better team. They're coming back. They found their team fight footing, but it was completely turned around once again. And when you look at who was the difference maker in this one, I mean, the gold difference even shows it. It was SMLZ. The amount of damage he dealt, the amount of kills he got. Most importantly, they did well in laning phase as a reciprocal fact of the jungle winning in the fight before that. You give SMLZ the ability to carry a game. We've seen him do it for so long now in the LPL. He will.
And again, Flawless. We keep harping on this player over and over again. The jungler for Rogue Warriors. Just can't give him Lee Sin, Rusty. He's a highlight reel.
He's known for Lee Sin. They gave him Lee Sin. They picked Kha'Zix as a higher priority into it. Granted, he is a good Kha'Zix player, but he got Lee Sin. He was in the top 5 plays at number 2 and number 1 for his Lee Sin plays. Like, he's just that good at it. And here he goes again, going off one more time.
I'm pretty sure they're going to pick out a couple more plays from that last match itself. Flawless, the walking highlight reel, is able to help Rogue Warriors tie it up 1-1 against Suning Gaming. To break down that game further, let's send it back to the analyst desk.
Don't worry, guys. We've got a bunch of highlights from Flawless to show you guys, but let's start it with Raz. First impressions of that game, because it looked like Suning were going to come back.
Yeah, it did. I mean, even beforehand, you talked about coming back. The fact that we saw the early game work so well for Rogue Warriors, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that the lanes actually converged on the skirmish that was happening.
They moved towards him.
That's great. That was why they had such a massive early game lead. But then Suning Gaming showed that they were smart enough to be able to take these preceding team fights, and Al showcases that he is such a strong team fighter on the Ornn. I am really impressed with Suning Gaming, but with that being said, Flawless.
Yeah. And we've got some footage to show you guys. We had the Flawless highlight reel, because that's pretty much was the story of this game. Flawless ended that game 7-5-9. Doinby right behind him, 2-4-16. And yes, it was SMLZ that picked up, you know, majority of the kills and was outputting the damage, but it was Flawless and Doinby on this Lee Sin Karma combo that carried the early game.
Yes. This is the early game convergence that really worked well for, you know, Rogue Warriors as a whole.
There's life in them.
Exactly. And then from that point forward, Flawless is the only reason why they were able to hang on with Suning Gaming, challenging them time and time again.
So is it as simple as ban Lee Sin? Do you think a team has to do that against Flawless, or are there other options? Why didn't the Kha'Zix work?
The preceding, I would say that with how proficient he is on Lee Sin, sure, you can ban it. What they have as an option as Suning Gaming is to pick Lee Sin away from him.
I do want to quickly highlight, though, check out Knight here. As it actually cancels out of it. Knight actually realm warps out of that fight as an auto attack is triggered towards him, and because of the distance from the realm warp, the auto attack does not do damage to kill him. Very interesting interaction, as we talked about Flawless and Doinby, but it was SMLZ that was picking up all of that late game damage.
Yes, and before the game even happened on the desk, we were talking about SMLZ being their late game carry, and they need to get to that point to begin with. And I said, well, I don't know about an early game or a mid-game element of this team. They need to show that to me. And sure, man of the match goes to SMLZ, but Flawless had such a strong early game. I mean, Rusty even said it. 3-level advantage that early on up against the Kha'Zix, that is already incredible, just insane in and of itself. And then he found himself incredible kicks in the fight. The guy was insane. Yeah, maybe you ban it away from him, but since you have 2 great Lee Sin players in your own in terms of in Suning, you can pick it away.
So Flawless going full like Majin Buu to the Super Saiyans of Suning?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. I guess he's a good... That only if they end up losing in set 3, just because Majin Buu doesn't win. That's another discussion entirely.
But here's the question now. So we talked about SMLZ, we talked about Flawless.
Yes.
Can you definitively say, like, who is the carry on Rogue Warriors? Or do they have multiple carries? Like, where is the actual strength here? Who do we need to look towards?
They have multiple carries, but of course, early game has to be Flawless. I think even... It has to be Flawless just because what we've seen from him thus far in the split, he's gone towards the Nidalee. He's just a carry jungler.
But is this a nature of Flawless or his team around him?
Both. I think that it's the nature of Flawless because he is a carry jungler, and they probably just picked him because they needed that to get to that late game fighting portion of it. Sure, I'd say that Doinby as a player picks pretty safe mid lane picks, but he's not going to go out of his way to kind of dominate the mid lane and then move outwards early on in the game.
You're using a lot of language about Doinby, picking safe picks and how it works for Flawless. Do you find this a strength? Like, if you look at Doinby's champion pool right now, he isn't going towards the meta. He grabbed an Azir, he had a subpar game on it, and now he's moved towards Karma, Lulu, the only player in the world right now that is playing those mid lanes. We have seen Zillion over in the NALCS. I mean, is this a weakness or is this a strength?
It's a strength if he makes it work. That's always honestly,
if you win, it's a strength.
Then we're okay with it, right? And usually you'd want yourself to be able to pick the Azir with how high of a priority of it is, but if they're going to be taking the wins, then they ain't complaining.
Okay, well, we will see if it is a strength or a weakness as we go into Game 3 between Suning and Rogue Warriors. Welcome back again. It is week 2, day 1 of the LPL, and we are in game 3 between Rogue Warriors and Suning Gaming. Hello, I am still your host, Indiana Frostgrim Black, and I'm still with the velvety tones of Raz. Wow, I always want to say Raz Barento Muhammad. Barento Raz Muhammad.
It all just kind of flows together no matter where you put it.
It just sounds so beautiful. No. Game 3. So far, the first thing that I want to talk about, because we do have a substitution coming in, is that Suning have decided to sub out their jungler. So it went from Tien, it is now going to be Hacker. Raz, who is Hacker?
That's a big one. I would say that last split they brought in Hacker for the team to be that aggressive jungler, which is funny because a lot of the champions that we've been seeing coming out of Tien is very shared in between the pools. So Kha'Zix, Lee Sin, both of them are being played by both junglers. I do expect this to be a change-up just because it's a fresh mentality, and I want to see that Lee Sin play coming out of Hacker.
So you think it's a stylistic mismatch there, where they're just trying to catch Flawless off guard?
Yeah, perhaps. I think they're very similar, and it's going to be difficult for a lot of analysts to kind of look at this and say, Tien and Hacker, what's the real difference here? I would say that Hacker has shown more of a propensity to look towards mid lane and try and gank that a little bit earlier on. Maybe that is an indication of that. So I want to see more towards what is the mid lane jungle matchup here. Is it going to be a Malzahar pickup from Knight? Because that seems to be what's interesting me the most.
So if Hacker and Knight are going to be throwing curveballs at the mid lane, you suspect because Hacker does have that tradition of ganking mid, do you think Doinby is the type of guy that can absorb that? We've already talked about how he plays more of the supportive picks,
yes.
the Karma, the Lulu. Is he someone who can just take all of those punches?
He has in the past, but what makes this harder to say now is because we've seen the last game. We've seen the last 2 games, and he's been picked up by not 2 people. It's never just a 2v1. Seems like they just bring in the whole family. So he can deal with a 2v1, maybe even bring in his own jungler at the time, because Flawless has been playing really well. But I wonder how many people they bring into this fight. Is it more than just a skirmish? It becomes a larger fight, because this seems to be an exciting fight between both teams, because it's never just a 1v1 or a 2v2.
So where does this match break? As we see the substitution there on your screen, again, it is the jungle sub TN for Hacker there. Is this the difference? Is this how you break this match open for Suning, by adjusting the jungle?
Yes. In pick ban, and it seems just in mentality as well. Pick ban just because we saw what the Lee Sin could do. I think it would be a waste to ban the Lee Sin just because Hacker's shown a propensity to pick that pick and do very well with it.
So they're
don't
trying to cover in draft phase by having Hacker.
Yeah, get the pick for yourself, and at the same time see what you can do in the mid lane. I think that would be a great adaptation.
Cool. Well, it's game 3. We're going to send it over to the casters. Fish, Rusty, close us out.
It's game number 3, guys, and Rusty and I are still here to cast and bring it to you, the third and final match. Suning, game 1, one-sided affair. Game number 2 is a big back and forth after Rogue Warriors lost a lot of the... Rogue Warriors were able to pick up a lot of the early game advantage.
Yeah, they certainly were. Of course, we've seen both teams with a single victory apiece now, and we saw a lot more fight from Suning Gaming in the second game. Successful teamfight victories where when Rogue Warriors were behind, they kind of just stayed there. They still fight it, granted, of course. It just wasn't successful in the way they were executing and the decisions behind it. And a lot of this, as we do go into the draft phase, is Rogue Warriors need to get ahead early, and a lot of that does start in the draft.
Well, let's see how this draft affects just that. Zoe, Vladimir, and Camille still being banned up by Rogue Warriors. They want to take Ezreal first once again. This time, though, Cockball Sejuani still on the bench, but Karma is the final man that comes out from Suning Gaming, and they pick up not only the Gnar first, but Tahm Kench straight away from Yoon.
Now, the trade-off for this is the J4, the Jarvan, has not been banned. It is not going to be on the bench. Now, Rogue Warriors have the opportunity to pick it, but we also know how good Flawless is at Lee Sin. Like, we need to reiterate this 17 more times. He can play it. He doesn't need to pick the Jarvan here if he doesn't want. I would say that, yes, something different could be picked. And now the support with it, I think, is how you round out your first 3 picks.
Rise as the pickup for Rogue Warriors. That's going to go into Doimbe's hands. And hovering over the Braum. We've seen Braum rise in popularity, mostly against Ornn, where he has the unique ability to completely negate his ultimate.
That's right, he can place down the door and prevent all of Ornn's team fight engage specifically. Of course, the Ornn can still be relevant, just can't send out the horn and be super aggressive. Suning have matched the roles that they wanted to lock in as well, the difference now being AD carry and top lane. I like that they prioritized Xiaowell's matchup, and how good he looked in game number 1 on Gnar was outstanding.
Final pick for Suning Gaming in the first rotation is the Malzahar. That's going to be picked up by Knight into the Rise matchup.
Yeah, knowing his matchup, we actually know that Rise will still do decently well into this one. It's usually the jungle intervention in a matchup like this as to who dictates the difference, and Hacker is in. We've mentioned that on the desk before. Hacker does love mid lane. There is a very real chance that Doinbe has a bad time. You
already mentioned, though, Rusty, Xiao Ao did well on the top lane Gnar pick in game number 1. Immediately, Suning say, well, if he had such a good time, let's make it even easier for him. Gangplank and Ornn taken off the table from Mouse. Whereas double 80 carry bans from Rogue Warriors, Varus and Sivir are the 2 bans that come out.
Yeah, Varus, Sivir, 2 characters that do well into Ezreal and have a lot of push and wave control. Makes you wonder if it's trying to force and bottleneck Fury into the Kalista. Now, he did have a very good Kalista showing, and he's got options like Tristana as well if he wants to hard push. I don't think they even need to pick their AD carry yet if the priority is still going to be around, something we mentioned earlier in the draft phase, still there.
It seems like Suning have gotten a lot of picks that they would like heading into this game. Hacker will be picking up Jarvan. Lee Sin is locked in for Flawless. Now that's a big pick.
Yeah, it's a bit of a banger of a pick. Now we're waiting for Mouse's last choice for the top lane. He has the counter, I should say, if he chooses to take it, but instead he's going to go towards the tank route. Now Lee Sin has been locked in again by Flawless. Raz mentioned this, and I think it's important, that Hacker is a super good Lee Sin player. And it's not that Hacker is playing Lee Sin, it's that he is much more adept at playing around it, and I feel like that's one of the biggest reasons for the swap here.
This is really interesting draft phase from both Rogue Warriors as well as Suning Gaming. Mouse being put back on tank duty. Hasn't had the best of games against Xiao Ao. Maokai does well into the Gnar top side of the map. Fury and Yoon, same champions. Jarvan and Malzahar, two very commonly banned champions between these two teams, get picked up by Suning.
Yeah, now I would like for Rogue Warriors with the completed draft here to actually have 3 different minion dematerializers in all of their solo lanes to actually gain tempo. I know that Mouse will probably opt towards that as Maokai into the Gnar. That will help a lot for lane control and preventing Xiaowao from getting damage onto the structure. For Ryze against Malzahar in the mid lane as well, it helps a lot. And even for Knight, if he wants to pick it up to destroy cannons with it. I see a lot of merit in it in this particular game, and I want to see what direction they go with it.
Well, let's see if they do pick up those masteries as we do load onto the Rift here, Rusty. I want to echo what we started this series with, what this means for both teams. Suning have been looking like serious East Conference contenders.
Yes.
And they're currently 2-0 in the LPL. On the side of Rogue Warriors, 1-1, but that scoreline doesn't fool anyone. They still look like contenders as well, and this match could not only knock down Suning, but propel them into the same score as their counterparts.
That's right. Rogue Warriors look like a squad that are going to be slow to warm up, but once they get going in this first split of the LPL, then they should be completely unstoppable, as the roster should dictate alone already. Whereas their opponent, Suning Gaming, started poorly, made playoffs last year, and they've hit the ground sprinting in 2018. And you can only expect good things from this roster as they upgraded the mid lane and added Knight.
And Knight has looked unstoppable in that mid lane. We saw his fancy footwork on Ryze in a great game 1 as well against Doinby's Malzahar. Now he gets the chance to play the Malzahar into Doinby's Ryze, which Suning have apparently been trying to keep from Rogue Warriors picking up this entire series.
Yeah, Ryze very powerful on Doinby. We saw him in the Demacia Cup playing Cassidy and Ryze and looking exceptional, being able to hard carry whilst building fairly tanky. And a lot of the Abyssal Mask champions is where Doinby goes and where he excels as a mid laner, because he wants to be a tank that can apply damage, pressure, and roam around the Rift. And if you have an Abyssal Mask, you don't die in lane, well, it's already a perfect start.
Especially with a stopwatch in his back pocket, he should be fine in that lane. We are on to Summoner's Rift for the third and final match between Rogue Warriors and Suning Gaming. Dematerializes, Rusty. I only see 2 right now. 1 on Malzahar, 1 on Yoon. I don't think this is the lanes you were looking for them. Oh, sorry, the champions.
What's that?
I don't think these are the 2 players you wanted to see those dematerializes
No, it wasn't.
on.
It was actually the other team that now has them. So whilst I was hoping that Mouse would have it, he usually does have it, especially when he plays the Maokai. He has opted away from it. And I wonder if it's just efficiency of build. You know, magical footwear is usually the other route that people would go. If you feel like you're going to lose your lane pretty hard and you feel a little bit cheesy as well, then why not opt into something like Futures Market too?
Whereas Suning are able to find Rogue Warriors going for the same invade that we saw in game number 2. Moving Flawless again in towards the blue buff. Hacker, however, he's going to learn from what happened to Tien in the first match and move straight to the blue buff and pick that one up before Flawless can make his way back.
Yeah, there's not going to be the immediate 3 buff starts here from either jungler. Hacker's the aggressor, and he's got the Gnar on the top side, so that does make some sense. Still, we've just got, let's just say, aggressive vertical jungling. That's just trading low overall.
Bottom side of the map, both bottom laners are going to be looking to see who can tick level 2 first. SMLZ in this match is not going to opt for the double Targon's Brace. He's going to go for the Doran's Blade to kick things off, whereas Fury and Yoon will be still doing that.
Does Hacker go top lane is my question. Does he want to do something a bit more cheesy and creative? Because against a Gnar into a Maokai matchup, it's not that you'll get the guaranteed kill, but maybe even a flash, and you start to give some tempo to the Maokai, to the Gnar into the Maokai matchup.
Xiao is, however, pushing in against this Maokai. SMLZ taking a bit of damage there coming out from Fury. And no aggressive invade coming out from Hacker. He moves towards the Scuttle Crab. Flawless clears Hacker's entire bottom side of the jungle, but ignores the Scuttle Crab that is there.
Now, we did just watch SMLZ have a pretty poor trade against the Kalista, and that is not a good omen given that he started with the Doran's Blade into the matchup. It's risky, you want to be more aggressive with the Blade, and now that he's starting to trade just a little bit down, not massively, you're hoping to see the Kleptomancy come up clutch and give him potions, but instead he got a ward. So he can see the enemies as they hit him harder and he doesn't have as much sustain.
Well, he's got a biscuit, so it seems like he has biscuit delivery service as well. That should help him out a little bit in this lane.
Yeah, another way to compensate, of course, for having the Doran's Blade. It's all about controlling the wave a little bit more so. And when you've got Lee Sin on the bottom side, yes, he's currently spotted, but Ezreal will be able to rotate quicker this time.
Hacker is going to be farming through his entire top side of the jungle. He knows that his bottom side is probably gone thanks to Flawless. Flawless returns and picks up a Scuttle Crab for himself. In this bottom lane, SMLZ still being hyper aggressive against Fury. Yoon doing a good job of blocking the Mystic shots from Ezreal when Fury is out of the open.
A fairly equal trading across the board. The 2v2 we mentioned it has control. Mid lane is sharing teleports and top lane is just having to push and deal with one another as they push towards usually the Maokai side of the lane. It is those junglers where naturally you'll direct your attention and see if they can make the ganks, but you mentioned it, Fish. With just full clears to be seen, it's all about that what's next after. And it feels like Lee Sin not getting the ganks off, not having the buffs available, is probably just waiting around for level 6.
Potentially. But a very quiet game between Rogue Warriors and Sinning to kick things off. Flawless is going to be spotted out by that ward. Put down a pink ward of his own, knows that he's collapsing in towards Hacker. Doinby is here as well. Let's see what Hacker decides to do. Can just flag and drag his way out. And Flawless, I believe that's one of the first Qs we've seen him miss.
Hacker.
Sticking around, he's not afraid of him.
You don't need to place the control ward 1 second after they place a ward. They're just going to turn around and kill it, buddy.
Now it could be sitting there looking for that collapse. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Rogue Warriors take some damage.
He's not done.
Get out. Knight, he's going to be found by Flawless. That's some good damage coming out from the Lee Sin. Hacker's going to follow up, and Flawless says, you know what? I've done my job. I'm getting the heck out of here.
Flawless is invading because he has the timer of the enemy wolves. He also knows the Gromp, and he wants to be aggressive and make those plays. Doinby was there at the correct time as well, and suddenly Flawless chunks out Knight. Doesn't have teleport, so he has to walk back to lane as Bottom's teleports in.
Teleport coming out from Mouse right behind Sunning's bottom lane. Young going aggressive against Kulor. He's even flashing for it. Eats him up. Is that enough damage? One more auto attack would be enough. Not enough from the Ignite, and SMLZ gets first blood.
Yoon tries his little heart out to get a kill, but it's not going to be there in the end. First blood over to Rogue Warriors, and the first blood goes over to SMLZ, the big carry of game number 2. Flawless doesn't need to contribute to that bottom lane if they're already doing work like this. This time, it was Mouse.
The MVP of that second match while you're at it there, Rusty. Fury trying to defend this start, has 3 members strong from Rogue Warriors pushing on through. And will be able to pick up a decent amount of farm for himself.
Well, certainly will. Fury's not in a bad position. There is a CS disadvantage for him, but he'll catch up most of these now. It's more so just that SMLZ is ahead with that gold, running the Kleptomancy once again on the Ezreal. And I guess we can note at this stage that Ezreal is a high priority for a reason between both AD carries. Of course, just in the world in general, but particularly in this set, the Ezreal just seems to win.
Very early pick up the man immune coming out from Ezreal as well. SMLZ should be starting to take control of this lane against Fury and Yoon. Flawless just heads back into his jungle, continues to farm up. Hasn't had the same impact that he had in game number 2, but still starting off this game nice and strong.
Now, I think your counterplay from Sinning Gaming, based off Rogue Warriors having the early edge, is actually to send Knight and Hacker towards the top lane where Xiaowao is. There's no summoners for Mouse, so if you really want, you can do the opposite of that, however, and send them all to the bottom lane / the Mountain Drake, utilizing the teleport that you have an advantage. I just feel like it's a bit easier to pick apart what is just armor boots on a Maokai at 6 minutes in the game as we cross over to the ultimates available point.
Flawless donates blue buff over to Doinby. Neither jungler has hit level 6 just yet, but top lane, the 2 solo lanes have been able to do so. Doinby even slightly ahead of the rest of the map.
Doinby on his rise too, of all things. With a CS advantage this large, 67 at 7 minutes is pretty much perfect CS.
Tear of the Goddess and Catalyst being picked up by him as well. Hacker waiting in the wings once more, but Flawless has wards everywhere to try and spot him out.
Yeah, that's a full set of wards.
Tags him once more. Hacker takes quite a bit of damage from this Lee Sin. And he will lose another control ward.
God, Flawless just continuously plays with fire, simply because he knows he can. Mouse teleported bottom lane last time. Now he's walking in the jungle, and the Rise is already here, and first at that.
He's able to get this red buff, or potentially take this red buff. Na's still on the top side of the map. Xiao does have teleport, but with the Maokai here, Flawless is going to be able to get another good counter jungle going onto the red buff camp.
You have to watch where Hacker and Knight go in response to this now. Do they go to the bottom side of the map? Well, realistically, because the 2v2 of Rogue Warriors is winning, they cannot. That means that it's just a clean red steal to be secured by Flawless and the rest of Rogue Warriors. Well done as a team to pick up those smaller extra advantages. They're still looking. Well, one of them is now.
Hello. Doinby is now over the wall. Hacker looking to see if he can reset this. Doinby is going to be able to pick it up. Hacker then goes aggressive, but he doesn't have anyone in front of him. Doinby just says, you know what? I'm going to take this ultimate and get the heck out of here. Flawless forced to flash away from the chasing Malzahar, but still, they take both red buff and blue buff.
I think that Knight probably should have flash ulted the Rise before he got the Zonias off. There was a hint of delay from Doinby. He wasn't sure if he needed to Zonias. He saw the Malzahar and then opted into it. There was an opportunity to get a kill there. Instead, it's just the blue buff. Doinby with so much pressure and with no smite from Hacker, they're able to pick up a consecutive objective and a major one away from the jungle of a Sunin.
Hesitant coming out from the Suning mid laner. Suning slowly falling further and further behind. About 1,000 gold is what separates these two teams, but Rogue Warriors look in control of the map for now. Yun now trying to blast Cone away. That's a teleport coming in from Doinby right behind them. Fury does have flash. Yun's in some trouble. He'll use nice and early. Yun will be able to eat him back up. Looking to try and kick him back into the team, but Yun wants to get over the wall. Throws Fury out. Fury pulls the time coach back. Hacker says, let's go back in. Come on and slam. Fury even flashing in towards the fight. Knight is here now. Yun gets that first kill. Xiao's trying to get into the back lines. SMLZ snipes one off. He jumps back in, knowing there's a Nah right behind him. Nah with his first kill of the fight. Knight popping his own stopwatch, trying to get away. Flawless almost gets him, but Knight flashes at the right time. Doinby is going to fall. Xiaoao picks up that kill. There's a 3-for-2 trade going in favor of Suning Gaming.
Xiaoao arriving is the major difference here. Mouse's teleport once again is about 5 seconds away at the end of the fight. And they just bring too many extra members down. He's still pressuring. He's still pushing forwards. He wants to fight.
He's still going for it. He says, I'll fight you, Flawless. Takes a lot of damage for that. Will turn into Mini Na and jump away.
The end of the trades though, Fish. It felt very disjointed. It felt very disconnected as to how these fights are happening. But Rogue Warriors are going first. They're making the plays. They wanted to take down Fury and Yun. Kalua's about 15 degrees off on all of his Braum ultimates, but Flawless was there to kick them. And they get over the wall. You're like, okay, it's done. And then Hacker just jumps in on the ball. They throw everyone back in and flash back. Like, what on earth? It's because Knight's there, and Xiaoao also has the teleport. However, by the time they get there, most of Suning Gaming have started to die.
Nice to see the beauty of stopwatch here, Rusty, as 4 members of Suning use it during that team fight.
Whole lot of golden
one by
men.
one.
But the stopwatches were the real MVP, you were correct. What should have been a lot more deaths for Suning Gaming was a calculated risk. It shows perhaps mastery of the current patch and the current meta, and Xiaoao is the winner with his Black Cleaver. Black
Cleaver is ripping Mouse to shreds. Xiaoao threatening to go Mega as well. Good return damage from Mouse as well, some sustain from his passive. And once more, Rogue Warriors have their eyes set towards the bottom lane. Mouse is going to be able to get down there. Fury stuck underneath his turret, no flash available for the poor Kalista. Flawless rightfully picks up a kill for himself. Now Doinby's down here as well. Sunny, you've got to run, abandon the bot lane. There is no hope for you down here. Ultimate gets thrown out by Mouse. Yun's going to try and get away, but Flawless, did he stop him? He was cancelled, gets the damage down. Going to continue chasing down this Kane turret as far as possible. Yun will slowly fall to Lisa here. Trying to go for that one-on-one. Will have a little bit of grey health. Throws out a control ward while he's at it, but Flawless, easy kill for him.
Yeah, Flawless knew that he had it in the end. A confident play from him. Didn't go for anything crazy. Just stood still and delivered the damage. Rogue Warriors now also getting that first turret with so many different teleports down into the bottom lane. This time picking up on the advantage with the fact that Sunin don't have it. Xiaoao's responding. But they also know that Mouse, he can't 1v1 Xiaoao at this stage. That was a 2-0 now with a blue buff coming up to his lane. So he gets the heck out of there, and instead they kill bottom.
Big team fight coming up from Suning. A great macro play from them to rotate down into the bottom lane over and over and over again. Knight returns into the mid lane, going to continue holding this turret. Top lane outer has fallen in favor of Suning Gaming, whereas Rogue Warriors did respond with the bottom lane outer turret.
And now we've started to see a much more conventional style of swapping of lanes here. SMLZ with the bottom turret already gone goes towards top. Means they want to extend the duration of the 2v2 laning. The Ezreal and the Braum want to persist. Doinby's also switched towards the Ghost. So there's going to be a lot less teleport plays, more slow, calm plays as Doinby crests over to a level 11, however. Going from mid to top, just a stone's throw away.
Still teleport available on Knight. Does Suning have that map advantage for now?
They want the red buff.
Again.
They have the timers on lock.
Let's see Mouse against Xiaoao here, trying not to go too aggressive. Yun, not going to see what he can do. Furious here, good kick into the Tom Kench. However, Flawless taking quite a few spears. Will blast Cone over.
Very cheeky ward hop as well to make sure that Kalista can't blast him back with all the spears in him. That Ren would have been dangerous. Unless he gets out with the red buff, gets out with pretty much full health after that scuttle too. That was a risky move from him, but let's call it calculated because he is Flawless after all.
Certainly is. Has looked great in this game once more on Lee Sin. Rift Herald is something that he's dancing around now. Does have a ward over the pit. Flawless takes it over.
They're looking for the top lane outer turret, and he wants to cut everybody off from Sunin Gaming and getting to the area. The vision's already in place from them, so it's really risky for Sunin to even be here until everybody arrives. Fury wasn't able to step up and deal with SMLZ in any kind of 1v1 capacity until now.
Could see a 2-on-2 here.